Back with an update on the Shanquella Robinson case. Shanquella Robinson, the 25-year-old woman who went to Cabo with a group of people that she called her friends back in October 2022. A total of 7 people traveled to Mexico from America for this trip, but only 6 people returned alive. Initially, her associates told her family that she passed away from alcohol poisoning, but the medical examiner recorded something different. The cause was listed as a spinal cord and neck injury. Calls for authorities to investigate Shanquella's death grew extremely loud after a video went viral showing one of her so-called friends physically assaulting her. The woman in that video identified as Dejanay Jackson. When the video was released, you had a lot of Shanquella supporters calling for everyone who went on the trip to be locked up. Mexican authorities conducted an investigation and concluded that it was Dejanay Jackson who they wanted for this crime. There was only one problem. Dejanay had already returned to the United States, but U.S. authorities did not arrest Dejanay or send her back. In March 2023, attorney Sue Ann Robinson, who did all the groundwork on this case, along with attorney Ben Crump and the support of Tamika Mallory and her organization, they sent a letter to the White House demanding that President Biden and other politicians put pressure on the Justice Department. A press conference was held in Washington, D.C., where the community activists, attorneys, and the Robinson family publicly addressed Biden.
And people always try to say, well, you all don't show up when black people get killed by other black people. You only show up if a white police officer get killing a black person. No, that's not it. Oftentimes we can't get the media to cover it, but my son, Until Freedom, our law firm, we have been showing up when black people get killed unjustly, whether it's a white person who killed them or it's a black person who killed them, because Shanquella Robinson, life matters.
That's right. We've been doing this for a very long time. Black women have been having to come to the front lines against oppression because of our intersectionality. We're black and we're females. And so based on that alone, we have a unique set of oppressions we have to deal with and fight against since Mamie Till. And I stand today on her shoulders, on the shoulders of all the black women who have to grieve publicly in order to push the most important work of our time forward, which is that we would receive equal treatment, that we would also receive equal justice under the laws of the country that we're born in.
And every time black people think that we're fighting for something, black women will tell you boldly in front of everyone that somehow black women are a separate class from black men, while black men think we're all fighting together. They pull the double minority card. When black women face discrimination, it's not because you're a woman, it's because you're black. Female is not even a real minority. That's made up at this point. There are more women in America than men, and women are way more protected than men.
So for me, on behalf of this family, to have to physically go and seek justice on their behalf was unreal. In another country, with another language. Going to those places, going to the police station, going to the Attorney General's office, going to the Mexican Red Cross, going to the office of the doctor that attended to her, going to the actual villa and the places where she walked, where she spent her last moments, trying to find answers for this family was absolutely unreal. Nobody should have to do that for something that is equal and fair. They're not asking for anything special. They're not asking for anything unique. They're asking for their government to intervene in a case and take jurisdiction for a crime that we all saw unfold on video.
That's correct. My Lord.
Within days, the White House responded when news reporter April Ryan questioned the White House press secretary for more information.
But because there's an FBI investigation underway, there's very little that we can say. We got to, as you know, we are very careful about criminal investigations or any investigations that are currently happening through DOJ, in this particular case, FBI. But our hearts go out to again, to the families, and I would have to refer you to the DOJ and the State Department on this.
Let me ask you this. So since there's an FBI investigation, does that mean nothing happens until the investigation is complete? Or, the United States has extradition treaty with Mexico. Is all of this contingent upon the FBI investigation?
What I can say is there's an investigation going on, so this is something that the FBI has to speak to. So that's why I'm referring you to the Department of Justice. And it's also an issue of the State Department, again, so would refer you to the State Department as it relates to another country and the diplomatic conversations that occur there. But again, this is something that we're clearly following here, and our hearts go out to her family.
Many of Shanquella's supporters did not like that response from Karine Jean-Pierre. They accused her of being disrespectful and dismissive. A couple of days later, though, the anger subsided and Shanquella's supporters decided to just wait for the FBI to complete their investigation. Now, following the federal investigation into the case, the U.S. Department of Justice has announced no federal charges will be filed in connection to Shanquella's death, claiming in a news release that, quote, available evidence does not support prosecution.
It's not something that's necessarily unexpected in the sense that Black and brown people always have to carve their own path to justice. Today, just sitting in the meeting with the family, listening to what we were being advised and listening to what the so-called investigation was revealing, I thought back to Miss Wanda, Ahmaud's mother, who had to take her case to the state attorney's office and had to beg for charges to be pressed in the death of her son. And I remembered Sandra Bland's mother, who had to do the same thing when they told us all that an investigation revealed that her cause of death was. It reminds me of George Floyd and how we were told that while we were watching with our own eyes, Derek Chauvin putting his knee on for 8 minutes and 46 seconds, we were being told that he was having a heart attack. We know that we have to carve our own path to justice, and we've been doing that from the very beginning. Mrs. Robinson has demonstrated tremendous strength, and I talk about it all the time, as well as Kula, her sister, having to bury a child, grieve for a child, get through all of that stuff, and then fight for justice for your child at the same time.
I'm sorry, but before social media was involved, before the media was involved, before GoFundMe was involved, it was Shanquella's father, who wasn't mentioned here, by the way, who had to pay $6,000 to get Shanquella's body back to America. He's been grieving as well and taking all of this very hard. But when they mention immediate family who love Shanquella in their grief, they only mention Shanquella's mother and her sister. How disrespectful was that? As if she didn't have a father. We all know who Shanquella's daddy is. Just like when the sister raised over $400,000 on GoFundMe, they allegedly dismissed him from that. The dad did an interview and said that he didn't see any of that GoFundMe money. And when it comes down to these cases where we're always fighting for justice, the annoying part is the hustle. I think we're being hustled by lawyers, we're being hustled by pimp politicians and community people, and we're being hustled by certain family members as well. Back to Dejanay. Mexico already had a warrant out for Dejanay. They could have just sent her back. But what Biden and his team did was try to play it safe, more concerned about politics than doing what was right. And I really believe they thought about the optics of them sending a Black woman to Mexico. Think about if he had only sent Dejanay back. Supporters didn't only want Dejanay to go to jail, they wanted everybody to go to jail. So if they had only sent Dejanay back, there would have still been a lot of backlash. They would have said it wasn't fair, why was only the Black woman being held accountable and not anybody else on the trip. That's where they would have gone next with this. So no, what Biden decided to do was play it safe. Do nothing and just wait for the supporters to move on to the next episode of Atlanta Housewives or the SWV Escape reality TV circus. And then you have the Cabo 6. Dejanay was caught red-handed, but there was no evidence that the others did anything physically to Shanquella. The only way for us to know is for one of them to tell. Sue Ann Robinson said that the FBI spoke with all of the Cabo 6. It sounds like what happened is that they all went in there on code with the same story. They protected Dejanay, they protected themselves, all of them. And by being silent and not snitching on Dejanay, that's how they're all getting off. I remember when this all happened, one of those guys on the trip put on social media that he had Dejanay's back. He said he was going to protect her. Protect a woman who should be locked up right now? And you know what? That's what's happening across the board. Dejanay, she's got a warrant, but she's not being extradited. The women on the trip, they're protecting her. They're not saying anything. The men on the trip, They're protecting her. They're not saying anything. The FBI, they're protecting her. Biden not saying anything or stepping into this, he's also protecting her as an American citizen. But no one is protecting Shanquella, who is the victim here, and the one who should be protected, not the criminal. But think about it. If that video of Dejanay attacking Shanquella would have been one of the men doing it instead, do you think the FBI would come forward with the same results? Would Biden have sat quietly? They would have caught that black man before he even left the country. And it doesn't matter if he landed back in the US or not. They would have thrown him right back over there on that plane. It is very complicated though. The victim is a black woman and the suspect is also a black woman. And because Joe Biden was thinking about the politics, that's why he didn't really want to move on it. We're talking about the same man who can't win an election without black women. He barely won last time. Remember, South Carolina saved him. Black women saved him. And that's why when this came across his desk, he should have known what to do. But instead they tried to play dumb. At the end of the day, I have to say, I do not like this. I don't like how as Americans, we can go out of the country, things can happen, and then nothing is done about it. Personally, we don't have to go back over there again. We can go to Jamaica or Bahamas or somewhere before ever thinking about stepping foot in Mexico again. You know that weekend that Shanquella died in Mexico, you also had a few Americans who went down there for the weekend and they didn't come back either. None of it connected supposedly. The American government isn't doing enough to warn citizens about that dangerous country. And then the black folks that just got kidnapped a couple of weeks ago, only half of them made it back. I believe Shanquella deserved justice. Y'all really need to warn your family members, your friends, when they are traveling out of the country, even in the States. Do your research. Make sure you're in a safe place. Don't go anywhere with people low-key hating on you just to have somebody to go somewhere with. If you can't fully trust them, don't go. Go with people you trust. Maybe your family, your parents, your spouse, children, basically family trips. Because a lot of people, just like Shanquella, you think that these people that you let around you are your friends. Ignoring their behavior, their current behavior, their past behavior, all because you don't want to judge somebody. I don't care. When it comes to yourself and your family, you better start judging. You gotta have sense out here to protect yourself, because even when something happens, our so-called leaders of this country will do nothing, and I mean nothing, to help you. I really think Sue Ann did her best here, but I have to be honest, and this is just my opinion here, my thoughts. Sue Ann, she practiced law for a while, but she was a contestant on that dating reality show on the Oprah Winfrey Network. It's called Ready to Love. For me, if this was my sister, there is no way on earth that I'll pick a reality TV dating contestant to represent my sister. No different from years ago. People used to always joke on Phaedra Parks about them not wanting her to represent them, and that was based on how she was portrayed on the Atlanta Housewives. Even if they came and said they'll do it for free, I will politely say, no ma'am, no sir, I have nothing against you, but this is my sister, or this is my brother, and I don't have time to play around with Ready to Love, Flavor of Love, Brett Michaels of Love, Ray J of Love, I Love New York contestants, and at this point, I will look for someone else besides Crump too. Now, am I surprised that nothing got done? No. I don't think they cared to solve the case anyway. From the beginning, when people first started making noise on social media, the FBI was saying there's nothing to see here, move along, no foul play. They didn't do anything until the video came out and social media, local media in North Carolina, and independent online media continued to speak out on the case. But they didn't want to open the investigation. They really wanted everyone to believe that nothing was going on when there was enough evidence shown to at least prove that there was foul play and this was a murder. And then look at the response from the White House. Biden didn't even say anything personally. He didn't care. Didn't matter that black people put him in office. Black people yelled out that we have a problem over here and wanted Biden to step in and do something about it, and he did nothing. Let's go ahead and get the conversation started. Special thank you to our brother Andre. I appreciate you, Andre, for all of your support, as well as our brother Jeremiah and our sister Tiffany. I appreciate you, Tiffany. Don't forget that you can support this channel as well. Links to Cash App and PayPal are below. Ladies, fellas, want a balanced analysis, want the truth from a woman's perspective? Then you're going to want to subscribe to this channel, and don't forget to like and share.